fullest toleration of religion means that it's a government grant. The free exercise of religion means that it is a natural right. It is given to us by God, and we have never surrendered that right to God, to the government. The Vatican Doctrine of Religious Liberty says that religion is an inherent human right. In other words, the government has no power over it. It is not for the government to accommodate our religion. And if we can get away from the idea that the government is absolute in all things, and that the government is in charge even of religion, we will make progress. Look at that. And I want to go back to say, well, how should we do that? Well, this all changed. It changed by the government in relation to the conflicts that took place in 1947. When the Supreme Court decided that, the First Amendment says Congress shall make no law. Well, in the meantime, the Civil War had taken place and the 14th Amendment was passed, which said no state shall abridge the rights, liberties, and all that of citizens. And so when the Supreme Court said, what does that mean, abridging the rights and liberties? They said it means that really the rights and liberties that are contained in the Bill of Rights now apply to the states, because if they don't get the equivalent of those, the rights are abridged. So now, in effect, even though it says Congress shall make no law, because of the Supreme Court, this is controversial, I'm not questioning this at all, but because the Supreme Court has applied the First Amendment to the states, it means now, it reads in effect, government shall make no law. A school board shall make no law. It goes from the federal Congress down to dog catchers. Any member of government should make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise of law. The Supreme Court said that in 1947. However, they made two fateful decisions, two fateful statements that has changed the whole thing and that need to be reversed. The first one said that the First Amendment, the law against establishment of religion, the First Amendment erected a wall of separation between church and state. And that was a metaphor by Thomas Jefferson used in 1802. He used it only once. He never used it before, and he never returned to it. But that metaphor has become American scripture. And secularists, I'll talk about that in a minute, they adhere to it with the same rigor as evangelicals adhere to the Bible. And it is just as infallible in their mind. And it is completely wrong. Why is it wrong? First of all, the problem with the metaphor is that nobody knows what it means. What is a wall of separation between church and state? The novelist Mercer Long said, there are 3 infallible rules for writing a successful novel, but nobody knows what they are. And so it's the same with the wall of separation. Everyone believes in it, but no one knows what the devil means. No one has ever been able to define it. Justice Frankfurter said in 1948, in rather peevish opinion, said, separation means something. Separation means separation, not something less. Well, very enlightened, right? But even though no one knows what it means, its inclinations lead the country in the wrong direction. The First Amendment says the government has no power over religion. Congress shall make no law. Government shall make no law. But the wall of separation says it has power. If the government has authority to determine that this is the realm of the church and this is the realm of the state, and this is wall in between, it has power. Anyone who has power to build a wall has authority, right? You know that about your next door neighbor. And I would say, remember this if you don't remember anything else today. The power to separate is the power to control. And whereas the First Amendment says the government has no power to control the church, the wall of separation metaphor says it does. Third, the First Amendment deals with one entity, deals with the state. It says Congress, government. The First Amendment is entirely addressed to government. It leaves the church out. The wall of separation metaphor brings in 2 entities, the church and the state, and says, this is the realm of the state, and this is the realm of the church. The First Amendment says the government shall not mess with the church. It does not say that the church may not mess with the state. Right? And the church has messed with the state forever and ever, from slavery to the death penalty to abortion to you name it. We have a right to get in there and tell politicians to do it, and to influence and put pressure on the state. The state has no right to get in the church, but that's what they say. They say we can. Oh, good Lord. Okay. And we need to abandon the method of separation of church and state. The other fateful pronouncement was that it said that declared that the government, the First Amendment means that the government may not aid one religion, aid all religions, or prefer one religion over the other. This is the other one we should check. We all say, I believe in the church, or people say, I believe in separation of church and state. Ask them, who do you think does the separating? Who does the separating? It has to be the government. The government is not wrong. The question then, and this one, by the way, is what the court uses as a rule, that no one can aid all religions or prefer one religion over another. This was a devastatingly wrong decision. Because the question of aid to religion is a religious question. It's not a political question. What aids my religion or your religion is your right to determine. It is not the right of judges to determine what it is. So, and in other words, if aid to religion, it puts a religious standard for the interpretation of secular laws. Aid to religion is absolutely wrong. But you know what the problem is? Is that we, I mean Catholic critics of the court, accepted the rule. That is the big, I know this is controversial, but they accepted the principle. All they questioned was the details. Catholic commentators, and other commentators, but Catholic especially after 1947 said, no, the government can aid all religions equally. It just can't prefer one religion over another. But it can aid all religions, or it can aid religion in general. That was the big mistake. Because we really, no, this is not what the court does, but it's how it has affected societies. The court has never followed the separation of church and state stuff. The court has never followed the aid to religion. The court aids our religion in all kinds of ways. It gives textbooks in Catholic schools. It puts, remedial teachers in Catholic schools. It allows busing to Catholic schools. It's given all kinds of aids. It says, if in a public school, if this classroom is used after school for community activities, it must be available to religious activities. It has aided things in all ways, but it has skewed society with the separation of church and state and the aid to religion. It has really skewed it completely. And we need to get away from that. And frankly, my appeal to you is, let's give up the idea that the government can aid our religion. We do get involved in all kinds of controversies that are peripheral and that don't help us. Like having crosses on public property, like having religious manifestations supported by government. Folks, that is not particularly helpful because it avoids us from the secularists who are trying. The United States is a secular government. It deals with the workaday life that you and I deal with. Our life is secular most of the time. It deals with that. Secularists try to say the only thing that matters is secular things, reason secular, and they try to put government behind the wall, put the church behind the wall, so that it won't have any influence on society. The church can have influence in all kinds of ways in society. We say that you can't have religion in the public schools. Nonsense! You can have religion in the public schools all day long. You just can't have government-sponsored religion. You can have kids meeting in clubs, meeting under the flagpole, saying prayers, doing all kinds of stuff. We can have after-school programs. We should abandon the idea of what aids religion. What's the rule? The rule for the government, judging the government is, does this law involve the government in making religious decisions? Let me give you an example, and I know I'm coming very close. A few years ago, the Congress passed an act giving $10 million to the California missions for the reconstruction of the roof and the strengthening of the walls. The Attorney General of California said, no, he bluntly he said, this is an aid to religion. Good example. He said, of course it aids religion, but aid to religion is not the criterion. The criterion is, does this bring the government into making religious decisions? If it had gone through, what would it have done? It would have brought the government or other workers into putting new roofs on the mission, in putting steel bars down the walls, in fortifying some of its foundations. All things that could be supervised by government officials. That they could have supervised the money, they could have supervised the construction, they could have supervised every single aspect of it without ever bringing them near making a religious decision. But you see the result of what aids religion. So what I say to you folks is, don't be caught into, even, and I know you can ask me about this, I know this is controversial, but even, I'll talk a little bit about, even about the Pledge of Allegiance. The remnants of the past that we sometimes want to hold on to, let's go, let them go. What we need to do is not modify what the secularists, and I don't mean those on the courts, I mean those in society who want to banish us out of society. What we need to do is not modify the rules. We need to challenge the rules at their base and destroy them. We need to say, no, we're not going. You say you can't have any religion, you can't have any of us, but you can't have any religion at all. And we say, yes, you can, you just can't prefer one religion, but you can have religion generally. No, you can't. There is no power to have religion. Let's challenge that and let's get the government out of saying you have power to decide what's good for religion, what's bad for religion, what's neutral. If you appoint somebody to tell me in my life what's good for me, what's bad for me, and what's neutral, that person is in charge of my life. That's what the Supreme Court keeps saying it has to do with religion. It hasn't. It has to look at its own jurisdiction. Justice Scalia helped on that. He got them out of it. We should follow him. We should challenge the separation of church and state. We should challenge the rule that government has aid to religion. And then, I haven't gotten, I don't have time, I wasn't going to do too much about the exemptions from the laws. But if we will not, we need to devise new ideas about exemptions from laws. We need to talk about equal protection under the law, because conscience has always been protected, and we need to talk about and develop the equal protection, due process and fairness. We need to look at the right to privacy. It has been used to justify abortion. The right to privacy, which Louis Brandeis said famously, is to keep the government away out of our lives. Surely, if the right to privacy justifies an abortion, it justifies me not wanting to kill an unborn child, the very ground of my being, the very essence of my conscience. Surely the right to privacy, we need to develop those. We need to forget about the First Amendment, which I think what Scalia is saying. The First Amendment is not going to help us be exempt from laws. But what we need to do, that's what I want to say, is we need to challenge the ideology that is based on the separation of church and state, and that is based on what aids religion, because both create an all-powerful government, and it is in doing away with an all-powerful government in religious matters and conscientious matters that we will be able to justify exemptions from the laws that are going to come and be imposed upon us more and more on more important merits. So I'll stop there.